Hi everyone, my name's Eli. Welcome to my channel Thick Threads, where I talk about my crafty endeavors, mainly cross stitch. Welcome back to my channel if you're returning, and if you're new, welcome as well for checking out my channel. So, calling in from a very snowy, well, the snow has fallen, Philadelphia. Went outside, said, let me go back. Went to the deli. Luckily, there's one in the corner. Got the essentials and came back. So I was like, let me film the Flosstube just to get it recorded and get it out this week. Also have a lot to show because of the Stitchy games, which we'll talk about. So I have one FFO, one start, a couple of WIPs, and then I want to talk about probably plans and another SAL. So let's get started. So the first FFO I showed, it was almost done last video, but here is Happy Berries by Ink Circles. I made it into a project bag and I did some quilting using the quilt block is called Puss in the Corner. And this was a round robin that I did with 3 other people from the iconic Ink Circles round robin from last year. Done on an 18 count mint green by Zweigart, I believe. And yeah, turned out really well. This is the best using this pattern, which I always forget the person's name. I'll have it below. This is the best the front panel has ever looked on one of these bags I made. And I've made a couple now. I like it. I like more vertical bags than horizontal bags, if that makes sense. And this is self-binding, which I really like. I still need to work on my binding sewing, but you know, this is also not too bad. And then I got this from Pride last year and it was just on the floor. And then I recently, while cleaning up, found it again, and it's this. It just says, I love my gay cat. I don't know, find it funny. So, what lives here is my new start. It's Trunktown Autumn by the Blue Flower. I'll have it on the screen. I started this with Selena, who got it at, I think at the Stitch Me retreat last year, and talked to me about it at Stitch Pluto. I fell in love with it. So I bought it from Be Youthful Sip and Stitchery. I don't remember if it's available still or not. The Blue Flower hinted, and I saw some photos already of Trunktown Spring that will be out in market, which is great. And I was like, oh, am I going to do a series of drums? But we'll see. I really liked spring already, maybe a little bit more than autumn, but I started autumn, so I have to get autumn finished. So let me show y'all. So me and Selena hopped on a Discord call and started it together. So this is what I put in. It is on a 16 count Rustico Oatmeal by Zweigart because the model and the kit fabric, I think it's again an extrude design fabric, is meant to resemble wood, like a tree, because that's what kind of the pattern is. So because I didn't want that extrude design one, I wanted Ada, I got this Oatmeal Rustico because it really looks, and that texture I think is really good. So that I'm doing all the DMC conversion, I think it's called for in like a couple of things. So this is the full, so it's probably going to take up a good, how am I going to do this? A good chunk of this, which is good because then I have this top part I can put springing or somewhere or whatever next one I want to do. Because I guess it makes sense if I were to do all 4 to do them in the same fabric, but you know, let's get there when we get there. Yep, I will be working on this more. I think me and Selena were like, let's work on this like every month on getting it like together on a Discord. So we'll be doing that. But also next month, well, this week and next month, I will be working on this more, and I'll tell you why later. I guess let me show you my weeks per se. I know how people do with their books of days. I do it with my Hobonichi weeks that I got this year, 2-track cross stitching. So there's a couple weeks. And this is more just showing people my spreads, also because of the stickers I use. Again, I split it in half because it's also a media, mainly movie tracker. So I put here the WIPs and the stitches, how much stitches I did, and the movie, and it is freeform notes, and then someone suggested doing a reflection at the end of the week, and I do like that, so that's consistent. But everything up here is kind of like, depends on the week. So this week, January 5th, I talked about WIP Drag Race, WIP Parades, and like what WIPs I have to show on the previous Flosstube. Then this week has a rabbit themed. I do it like at the end of the week. I fill in blank space with stickers. I don't have it, I don't preset it. And I just use whatever stickers I have. Yeah, I talked about playing with Selena, new Flosstubes, Notion updates that I had to do. I had 2 for possible start through WIP Go. I had the 2 that will go up against each other, but I was also thinking like what fabrics work well with them, because like I said in my last Flosstube, when I present like 2 options to y'all to vote on, I would like to have a fabric so you know at least what the fabric will be and I can inform. And then this, I just finished it like right before I recorded. Someone was giving this away in like the lobby because I guess they were moving out. It was like a Sanrio sticker pack. So of course I had to get that. So it's some Sanrio stickers. And this one, what did I talk about? This week was really like bare. I just recorded some, I was watching some Flosstubes and people were showing some new patterns that either I didn't know of before or just didn't really have on my register, so that's what I recorded. Alrighty. So the next thing I want to show is in regards to the Stitchy games. I want to first, because it's easier, talk about my second WIP Go pull for this month, which was Winter Moth by the Blue Flower. So like I said last time, instead of my first original goal with WIP Go is to do like 5 days, then I realized my weeks are a little bit too, they're consistent, but just that doesn't, I don't think that would have been more progress. I think I shifted it. And now that I do markup, I can set stitch goals for each day, which that makes it much easier. So the new thing is just a minimum of 500 stitches added, which I surpassed this week. It was like 900 I put into Winter Moth. I don't know if I have a photo from the last time I showed it, so I'm just gonna show y'all. So here it is. I'm gonna go do this. Yeah, there we go. So I brought this to Florida. I started it at the Jingle Ball because it was exclusive to the Jingle Ball that the Blue Flower was selling. And I wanted to start the outline of the moth before I set in all the elements inside of it. And I was having so much issue of it not lining up. I had to do it like 3 times. And what turned out what I had to do was the one that I started with, which I did mess up, and I was like, let me just replicate here. I just ripped it out instead of ripping out the other one, so that, because I knew, I kept on recounting, the second one I did was right. So let me just keep that. And that's how they lined up. And then I got to fill in some of the color. You can see 500 here. And you can see why this will all be filled in, so the 500 will pop because it's going to be filled in with white. But in the pattern, 500 is also the border color. So because the border is not really surrounded by anything, that's why I switched it to, I added a light blue color to this pattern for the border. So yes, I wanted to finish the outline, added some elements inside the moth. I finished this snowflake. I added a little bit to this border. So I wanted to do everything just to get some progress. So I'm really happy with it. I don't know the next time I'm gonna pull it out. I have 3 Blue Flower WIPs currently in my rotation, and Birdie Bowl and Trunk Town. Honestly, I'm more pulled. If I'm like randomly like not in a Stitchy game, I would just pull them before I pull Winter Moth. And it's not, I'm not a seasonal stitcher that much, but I don't know. Winter Moth. It's done on a 20 count Christmas night by Atomic Ranch. And I think with Atomic Ranch sometimes, I love Atomic Ranch. I think with their 32 count Lugana, which I did my Stitch for Pride on last year, and this one, I think because of the dyeing process, of course, it just runs a bit tighter. Because these look smaller than 20 count. I have other 20 counts, so I was comparing them, and it just seems smaller. But I also don't know if, because it's such a dark fabric, my eyes are just playing tricks on me. So, just wanted to say that. Yeah. Because I didn't get the code for fabric because that was an exclusive by Lap and Loops. I think it was called Jingle All the Way. And it was like this amazing green. Hopefully they release it sometime, either this year or next year when I can get fabric, because I would really like that fabric. So I chose this very nice dark blue. And I always wanted to do something on a dark blue. Alrighty, I'll be right back. Alrighty, so the next stuff I have to present is with WIP Drag Race, which is a stitching game I'm doing with Feather Duff Stitchery. It's inspired by Jessie Marie Does Stuff's stitchy game with the Great British Bake Off, where we correspond WIPs to specific drag queens of the season, and certain things that happen each episode may constitute us to put in some stitching to each WIP. I explained it in my last video, and then Aspen from Feather Duff Stitchery also has a video explaining it. So this was the results from episode 2. I have 2 weeks to cover, so we'll do episode 2 first. So the winner of the challenge, the winner of the second week's challenge that equals 500 stitches was Udina. So this was the last time I showed Udina, and this was a New Year's start that I did with Becca is Stitching. So this is where it is now. So what I did, always have to figure out how to show it. There we go. So what I did was I brought down all of this, and then you see right here, this is like the outline of her big dress. All this is like inside her dress, like, and then she's resting her hand on her lap of the dress. So I went here to put in this kind of like seaweed kind of stuff, and then put in more of the gold. And I explained it again in my last video. This is a full color conversion inspired by an opera production that the Met does. So it's on my Instagram and also my last Flosstube, what the colors I chose. This is done on a one-of-a-kind banana oil in 32 count Lugana, a very beautiful fabric, very easy to stitch with. Yeah, the queen who Udina's connected with is like really killing the competition at the moment. If she didn't win the challenge, she's been in like the high placement. So hopefully she gets another win to get another 500 stitches. I know Becca, again, I've said this, Becca has said in her Flosstube she wants to get at least 10% this year on Udina, so maybe I follow her lead, because that would be a good thing to follow. Because it's going to be a huge piece, so it's going to be with us for a little bit. And there's so many owl forests I want to do. So the next one was the WIP that got eliminated from the competition this week. It was the first eliminated queen of the season, which is always a bit sad. So sadly, again, on top of that sadness, it was Book of Tea Time Critters by Haunted Frame Stitchery, which is such a cute pattern. So eliminated queens, they get 300 stitches. Or did I also add? I might have added more stitches, because we also delegate stitches to mini challenge winners, which is like the smaller challenge that starts the episode. But they're just not doing them this season. So sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. So the mini challenge gets 100 stitches. So I think I just added it to Book of Tea Time Critter. Probably showed you what it looked like last time while I was talking. But yeah, this is done on an 18 count Raspberry. I don't know if that's the name of it or it just is at Raspberry. I believe it is from Nightcrawler or Night Stalker Studios. Them. I got this from Percolator Crafts, Maryland's D-Stash. Night Stalkers only does like floss now. They don't really sell fabric anymore, which sucks because this is such a good fabric. Luckily, I have another piece to do something on it, but this, and hopefully, I have a little bit, but I might just use it to finish, but yeah, I forget. I added a lot on this side of the book, the rabbit, and I was finishing up this side. With the stitches I added and what I had previously, I think I'm 25%, or maybe 50, around, I don't know anymore. Almost done. These aren't really big patterns and it's only 4 colors. And I just did a stash conversion with DMCs I had in stash and 1 Roxy floss. And I think it's called Fairy Dust for all of the pinks of the strawberries and this and that. So they look a little bit lighter, which I do like. With just how intense the fabric is, it's a good thing that I didn't make the strawberries too intense. So that's that. This lives in this fun fruit bag that I made a while ago for this project. Yeah, so the next time this will come out will be most likely in Strawberry Moon. Was it? The Strawberry Moon SAL that happens in June? Yeah. So hopefully I can get it finished by then because I started last year and it's, again, not too big. Alrighty, the last one for week 2 is dedicated towards the Queen with Your Favorite Runway. So how we did it is each episode there's a runway and they present their looks. So Aspen, my god, mixing my friends up. Aspen said you could either add 150 stitches or whatever amount you want to the person who had your favorite runway, to the WIP that they're associated with, or if you want a little bit more, you can pick a WIP that kind of follows the theme and in some way and just put in as much stitches as you want. So I'm doing the thing of just picking the queen who has my favorite runway because, you know, that's just easier for me. So the person who did was connected to Caught in a Swirl, which if you saw my WIP parade, or if you didn't, this used to be Thistle Manor, which was a freebie by Blackbird Design. I wasn't feeling it anymore, so I UFO'd it. So I ripped out all the stitches, and it was a part of the Curious Crafters, I think it was called #Sampler Color Exploration Challenge, something like that, where it's you pick a small sampler and you just make a color conversion, basically. So as much as I liked it, I just wanted something else. And I always wanted to do Caught in a Swirl, but not the big one, or maybe in the future, because when people talk about Caught in the Swirl, the big one, they just refer to it as Leaves Hell, because they're so big and there's so many leaves. But there is that, but Caught in a Swirl by Kathy Barrett comes with also a pin cushion, smaller pattern when you buy it. So I was like, let me do that instead. So that's what I started. This is on 30 count linen in 18th century grape by R&R. I don't think they sell it anymore. I got it from a Facebook D-Stash. So it's a very, very dark purple. It reads black, but it's a very dark purple. And this is, I think, more than 150 because I couldn't put it down because it was a lot of fun. And I'm calling it like Caught in a Neon Swirl because of this dark fabric. A lot of the colors I chose come out neon. And I remembered saying I was going to I kept the fabric and I was like, I'm going to also keep the floss that I originally picked out for Thistle Manor. But I also did not do that. So let's see what I did. I think these two possibly were kept over. 701 DMC, which is what you saw on the pattern. And then the lighter green, I'm going to do 15, which is one of my favorite greens. And then the other colors I chose came from the kind of the leftovers of the Pirate and Robin rainbow set that I bought for our Diana Bloom start. So I had a couple left over because they didn't go with the pattern, the Diana Bloom pattern. So I was like, let me use them for this. So these are, and they're like very fun that they came very bright, very jewel tony. And again, because on the dark fabric, you'll read neon. So let me get the fabric out. Gotta fold it because it's quite sheer. So I'm very excited about how this is going to turn out. So I'll have very bright bejeweled birds on my swirl. And these, I don't know, I'm unsure whether or not through the set these are colors you can get individually from Pirate and Robin. But I'm just going to read the names. This is Baby Blue. This lovely color is Jade. This is Boysenberry. I think you can get this individually. And this is Fireball. And this replaced one of my favorite DMC 666, which is a very bright red. This one's a little bit more orangey. I think of hot sauce for some reason with this one. So I'm super excited to put more work into this. Not for week 3, because I finished that and I'll show you next, but currently the 4th episode came out, so I know what I'm going to stitch this week. And for my favorite runway, Cotton and Swirl was up there, but I was like, if I choose Cotton and Swirl, I was doing it more because I wanted to work on Cotton and Swirl, not necessarily because the queen associated with it had my favorite runway. She was like my second favorite. So I'm trying to be a bit more like, base it on the runway, not you're favoring certain WIPs over the other. So I think I'll get hopefully some work done. I really like the queen associated with it, but we'll see. You never know. And if not, it's a small. I do want to get this that finished this year because I want to make it into a very. I'm going to make it into a probably a pillow. I think there's one frame I have that might work with it, but we'll have to see. Alrighty, let me get the following WIP Drag Race results ready for y'all. Okay, so the third week or third episode results, I'll do it opposite. I'll start with my favorite runway, was Fluff the Dragon by Marumi Designs. This is a thread-in project for me. I'm probably showing you when the last time you saw it because it won the first episode, so it got 500 stitches, and I talked about how I realized I made a mistake and started to put too much margin here for such a small cut that I did, that I'll have to figure out how I'm going to fix that. So I got only 100? Why can't I remember? It's on my Instagram. I know for sure it's on my Instagram. But I think I did maybe 150. Because what I did from the first time, let me fold it. It's looking a little sheer. I'm recording a little bit earlier than I usually do. In the day, I mean. So I finish this motif, this corner, I think. And then I went down and started working on Fluff himself. So this is fun. I was trying, I'm not going to really try to do it like very blocky like that. It's just how you have to kind of work with the pattern so I don't lose focus / lose count. So that's what I did. Yeah, this is done on an 18 count sugar plum. Oh no. Also from Maryland Percolator Crafts D-Stash. This is, I believe, sugar plum or plum. And I can't remember the dyer. I'll have to look it up. I have I have some remnants of it still, so I think it has its name. So I'll put it below. And again, the thread end project, so a wild assortment of threads. But I love how it's looking out. And again, I'm going to try my best to, even with the mistake, see how much I can do and just go with the flow. So the eliminated queen, who got 300 stitches, the WIP associated with is my Bastiodon, which is from Poke Stitch Patterns on Etsy. So So it's a Pokemon. I'm going to show you what the pattern, like what the finished product is, because I started this as a travel stitch and I did more work on it, but I never took a photo. So the before photo would make it look like I did much more than I actually did. So I put 300 stitches. So mainly I tried to do more outline on the top and did some fill in here just to get stuff done. This is a project that I am doing in hand. And this one I did all 300 stitches in hand, which was interesting. I'm getting used to it. I mean, from hearing what people talk about it, you know, you just have to, they're not going to be as straight or neat as, of course, on a hoop. And, you know, sometimes I make mistakes, but it's looking pretty good. Sadly, this WIP was a hometown girl from Philadelphia, so we were sad to see her go. And I don't know, it is the 30th anniversary of Pokemon this year, so I would like to get this one done, to at least get one Pokemon pattern done, because I love Pokemon, but we'll see. And there's one I want to start, but probably not this year. Both of them, I think I've said this on a Flosstube before, because they're such a small cut, they're going to be the front covers for like needle books or like project books that hold your floss, needle, and scissor and magnet. So that's why it's so small. It's just going to be a front cover to this. And this is done on a 28 count linen in Vapors by Atomic Ranch. So it's like a very light bluey gray color. And it's a stash conversion that I used all the flosses from Sprouting Lupine's A Walk in Nature Thunderstorm because they were basically the same color palette. So I just used that. Alrighty, and then the winner of the third episode, oh she's a big gal, this WIP, is my sampler, Charlotte Watkins 1866 by Quaint Rose Needle Arts. I am doing a full color conversion. I shortened it, etc, etc. This is the last time you saw it, which was a while ago. Probably November was the last time I worked on it. And this is where it looks now. I did fold, I iron stuff. Who is he? Just to make things look prettier. Okay, so it won 500 stitches. Let me fold it better so we can get a zoom in. So the majority of those 500 stitches went into filling in the roof of this house and then more outlining of elements here. And then I filled in a little bit inside with, again, DMC 500. And then I did a little bit more, oh, here we go, work on the border here. Just brought it down a bit. So I love this piece. It's done on a 20 count, not block my face, a 20 count, one of a kind from Volcano Stitching. Full color conversion. A majority of it is DMC with some Pirate and Robin and some Roxy Floss there. If you are interested in what the colors I used, please let me know and I'll get them to you. But it was my first ever like changing everything. It's totally opposite to what the original is called for, just because I like these colors better. I've talked about, you know, shortening it and my reasons why, and maybe using a different alphabet to spell out my name at the bottom instead of the, original girl's name. So, but I'm just focusing on when it gets called, working on the elements, because I have to, because I'm moving stuff around and shortening it, I have to establish all the motifs first before doing a lot of the border. Because, I don't know if y'all remember, I had an issue where, because I was shortening it, and this was, I think this one's like a middle motif, not at the top, when just following the border regularly, I realized, oh, it's going to hit it, and I had to like shorten it. So what I decided while looking back at it, I was like, this is DMC, so I'm just going to rip it out and then add another level and then do the border regularly. Which is fine. I like this fabric so much that I will keep it bare if needed, or I could just add more motifs from the pattern up there. So we'll see. Because the thing with Charlotte, like the original pattern, she made mistakes and she just worked with it. And I have done that. But that one, I just think it'll just mess me up more than like your usual issues. So I'll just rip that out. Sorry for being so fidgety with my WIPs. Alrighty, I think there's one more WIP I have to show y'all. And then we will go into other stuff. So I'll be right back. So the last WIP I need to show y'all came because of the snowstorm that happened. That probably affected many, I mean, it did affect so many people in the central to east coast of the United States. I hope everyone is doing well. I hope no one got power. Well, I know there were power outages. Luckily, I didn't get any because that was the thing I was most afraid of. So I was trying to think. I knew I was going to be snowed in. So I was like, what should I work on? Because I wanted to make like a heavy cross-stitch day out of it. So my first idea was a very fun idea of like picking 6 WIPs that were either spring or summer themed and then working on them for like 200 stitches each, just to be like the opposite of what the weather looked like outside. But I was like, no. This WIP, which I've showed y'all before, has been languishing. Let me spend a day working on it. So this is Krista at Cloverhop Stitching's iconic ink circle piece from last year. I still have. I'll show y'all, not from my Flosstube, but I did a story image and I saved it, what it looked like when I started. And then let me fold it a bit so I can focus on what I did. Oh boy. So what I did really was a lot of this area. So I got that all filled out yesterday. So in a day. This is not a markup, so I don't know like the stitch numbers, but it's quite a bit of work. So now with that done, what's left is just really this corner, so this kind of circle area. And then when I took it out to iron it, I realized I never finished this motif, so I need to do this today and then just work out. I see the it's been forever. I'm sorry, Chris, I keep on saying sorry. I see the light at the end. I see it, so I can give this to the next person. But it is also taking out of it, I'll stand up. It is such a beautiful piece. And Krista allowed us to do some color changes with the flowers. That makes it, put our unique stamp to it. But it is such a good pattern. I don't know if I would ever do it because it is big. And then if you don't have other people helping you out, it would be very repetitive. But I'm glad I at least did a part for Krista. And there's 2 colorways that Ink Circles provides. This is one of them, and it's done on 18 count Scotsman by Bestimtree, which is a beautiful color fabric. And the other colorway is like a yellow background fabric, so it was more brighter maybe, or maybe this is the bright one. I will get this done. And now we can go on to plans, because this week is not a WIP Go week, it's a free week. So that usually means I just focus on my WIP Drag Race stuff. And I will, but this will have priority because I'm so close to a finish. So this, and also the last 3 days of January, let's go to the Hobonichi. Yeah, so like I explained this last video, my kind of dividing of it. I have these 3 days kind of free, even more free, so bank days, which I don't know will happen every month. Maybe, we'll see. So these extra days either is, again, for this to finish it more, or I can use those bank days to catch up on WIP Drag Race, which is most likely what I'll be doing. Yeah, so plans, that's the majority of my plans. Yeah, majority of my plans. Because the latest episode of Drag Race that just happened, so this would be 4 or 5. Oh boy. already confusing y'all. The WIPs I'm going to work on for that are Birdie Bow 1, so I have to put 500 stitches, which I already put half of it in. I'm not going to show y'all because I like having them as a set for each week. So I need to finish the last like 208 stitches for Birdie Bowl. I need to put 300 stitches in Trunk Town because Trunk Town got eliminated. So I'll put in some work into that. And then Trunk Town was also called for February's WIP Go. So Trunk Town will get a bit of work. It is a big pattern, so maybe that one stem leaf and maybe the ground will get finished. Oh, and then the other WIP Go for February was my elephant tapestry, which I showed yesterday, my last Flosstube, which is a planned start, because I have planned starts in my WIP Go board and some freeform starts. So I'm super excited because it was funny. It was very funny, very, what's the word? Serendipitous? That's not the right word for it. Because I showed y'all that because it got deleted in one of my other videos. And then I also was like, well, while I was showing it, let me finish up the drafting because I'm adapting it from a needlepoint book. And I kind of now made it into like very adapted, like it's the elements. And I combined another element. I'll show y'all when I start it for real. So it's funny that I got all that work done. Like I finished the pattern and I showed y'all last time and then I got called. So maybe something was telling me to prep it more in advance because it was going to get called in February. So those are my 2 February calls. So we'll talk more about that next time. So you'll probably see elephant tapestry for sure. So there's one last thing I want to do, which is talk about a second start that I'm doing with February, which is a SAL. So I'll be right back. So I have been planning this out for a while. I was going to start last year and then things happened and I was like, let me wait till next year. And I connected with Stitchy on Instagram and she's very excited. So we're going to host it together. It's called the CloselyKept SAL. I will probably have it posted on my Instagram by this time, like, you know, in the little like announcement post about it. So it is a SAL for anyone, you know, anyone can join, where you work on any piece from the CloselyKept series by Shaded Stitchery, which I'll have up on the screen. These are amazing patterns. Nuri at Shaded Stitchery is such a cool designer, and this is going to be technically the first one I started, but I have a lot in stash. And it's such an amazing background to it. So basically, Nuri found these artifacts, museum artifacts, through the National Museum of African American History and Culture, I believe. I always want to make sure I get it. The term, those long museum terms right. And they're basically, I always refer to them as daguerreotypes, so that's a bit more specific. It's like calling, you know, certain alcohols certain names depending on the location. So I think they're more tin types. Some might be daguerreotypes, some are tin types, and they're basically very early in photography. A way to present photos were in these cases with the photo on the right side and an embossed fabric velvet on the left side. And the daguerreotype, tin type, the term comes from the material of the photograph. I used to work in a photo archive, so that's why I kind of know a little bit more about this. So it's chemical reactions that were on top of a tin type, probably a piece of tin. Daguerreotype, I forget what metal it was made on. It could have been tin. Daguerreau came from the guy who made it, a French guy. That's why it's named daguerreotype. And it's just a reactive, you know, the photo, it comes from the reactions that is through the chemicals and the light and the image, the capturing. I can't really explain photos that well, but that's way, and it was presented. And what's very interesting about these types of photographs is they're so well preserved just in their creation that if left untampered, because it's like sealed, they can really last 100 years on their own, which is amazing for the time period that they kind of originally were created and used a lot. So around that time, I think a little bit after, a major event happened in the terms of the United States Civil War. And I think I've said this. Oh, you know what? I've talked about this, but it also got deleted in that past video. The Civil War was very interesting, where I don't think it's maybe the first war, but for a war that America was in, that it was documented through photographs, which just showed people more in very stark terms the brutality and the destruction that war can wrought on people. At the same time, you see a lot of photos of people and soldiers, and of more particularly African American Black people in America during this time. So it's a very interesting material to really analyze and research. And I'm very lucky I met an author of a book that really talks about photography, the Civil War, and includes a lot of these images of the daguerreotype tintypes in the book. It's called The Black Civil War Soldier, A Visual History of Conflict and Citizenship. I'm reading it. It's part of my stack that props up my phone. It's by Deborah Willis. I have a photo of it. So what I'm going to do, very inspired by the Stitch for Pride last year, I'm probably going to read a chapter, do one of the Closely Kept patterns, read a chapter, do another one. And that's what I'm going to do. I am also going to do them as a sampler. They're like the called, oh my god, not the called for, the model, like on the pattern are all done very separately, which I think is a great idea. But I really like the idea of having them all together as one, like, sampler. And the designs, I forgot to say, are from the embossed velvet embroidered patterns. So it's just so many interests I have. I personally also am considering this. I don't patriotic stitching, patriotism, even as a small kid till now, wasn't always my thing. Sometimes I don't understand, like, this having such fervor. And of course, very now, with all the tragedy that's happening in, like, Minnesota with the ice, just so much things, it's very even harder for me. So I'm approaching this not in terms of patriotic, but again, because it's a history of course, independence, not the Civil War. I'm approaching this as a piece that talks about American history, talks about Black people's history in America. That's another reason why I kind of started this year. So I'll be reading that. You guys don't need to read. If you want to join, please do join me in Stitching Tea. You don't need to read the book. That's very extra. I just found it interesting, and I met the author at a work event, so that was really cool. And again, sometimes with stitching, there's some projects where I also want to learn with stuff. So I should have messaged Stitching Tea before I recorded to, like, hammer down a date. The thing is, Shea Stitchery is starting her own SAL, the Data Portraits Volume 2 in February, so we're probably going to start it later in February, because I think that starts on top of the month, like the start of the month, so we don't want to conflict. But I mean, what's better than one Shade Stitchery SAL, two Shade Stitchery SALs? And also, I do like data portraits, but this was just been on top of my mind for so long, so I wanted to start this. So now let's talk about materials. So I'm doing them in the sampler, and I'm going to do them on this piece of 18 count kryptonite fabric that I got it from a Facebook D-stash, but I know because of the sticker, it came from a Fox and Rabbit Fabric of the Month Club. I don't know when. I don't think this is in their regular catalog. So it's like a very soft green color. I don't know the orientation of the sampler, if it's going to be like this or like this. I mean, it's square. I'll figure it out. I remember when I was first thinking about doing this pattern, I thought I would be so much more extra and design, because in the tintypes, the daguerreotypes, the photo is also framed with this, like, gold frame. So I thought, oh, that'd be cool if I patterned a huge gold frame, and then all of the designs would be inside the frame to kind of mimic that. Too much. I tried like a full day of trying to figure that out, and I was like, let me just simplify it, and then yeah, let me just focus on the great work that Nuri did. The floss, this is also a very special piece because this will be the first project I done that like my project that's all silks. I did silks for Michelle Bendy's iconic ink circles, so I have worked with them before, and I did like that experience, but this will be the first time I work, like this is my own WIP with silk. So I first started out with these four because these are 4 dinky dies. I have explained, I think I did show these in a Flosstube way ago. I got this from Top Knot Stitcher a bit ago, last year, and it's like fall 2024 package color, so they came in the 4 quartet, and I know Dinky Dye does this where like the new colors they produce, they like sell them in packs. So this was what started because there was only 4 closely kept patterns when I was thinking about this. So this is Aurora, Broomstick, Scarecrow, and Belle Heather. And then I think it was not national market but the online market in November last year, Shade Stitchery released the 5th one. So I was like, oh, I need to buy another silk. So my LNS or in-house needlepoint was having a sale on stuff, and they had some Steph Francis silk, which I've never tried before, never really heard people try it, but it looked nice. I would try to find a color that wasn't too wild or like comparable to these others. So this very lovely orangey one. I think there's a high chance that a 6th one will come out sometime this year, which I'm excited for. So, and I don't know if I have a deadline for this project. I don't think I'm good with deadlines like that, especially these bigger ones. So, who knows? And also because I don't know how many there will be in total, like how many closely kept there will be. I don't want to be like, all right, I'm done, and then another one comes out. So, yeah. I also don't know if I'm going to do them in order. I know the first one, which is a very lovely like flower, sunflower, that will be the first one I do on the 20th, on whatever day me and Stitchy decide, and I will be using Scarecrow for that one because it works well with it. So yeah, it's very, just wanted to put the fabric with the flosses. I'm super excited about this for so many reasons. And it's, you know, you've like sometimes when you kit up something for a long time and it's just kind of sitting, you kind of get itchy to start it. So I'm super excited to start it next month. Hopefully y'all can join us at any time. If you already started one and want to work on it more during February and during the year, just hop on in. So I think that's everything. I don't want to make this again too long. Yeah, so that's everything. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see y'all in 2 weeks. Like, comment, subscribe, message me, etc., etc. I hope you have fun stitching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.